This episode of WDW Today is being sponsored by All-Star Vacation Homes. And when you're planning your next trip to Walt Disney World and you're looking for that place to stay that's going to have a lot of great amenities, lots of space, and you know what? For a fraction of the price of Walt Disney World Resort, why not try staying at an All-Star Vacation Home? They're going to offer all of that and lots more. Check out their website. Just go look around at the pictures and everything. I guarantee you'll be amazed at it. Check them out online at www.allstarvacationhomes.com.
This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Friday, March 19th, 2010, and this is episode 696 of WDW Today. I'm Matt Hodgeberg of StudioCentral.com. Joining me on today's show is Mike Scopa, a senior feature writer and blogger for alleears.net. Welcome, Mike.
It's a spirit that knows a quiet sense of timelessness.
Norway.
Jeez.
Kind of scared that we knew that.
How do you say that in Norwegian? How do you say sheesh in Norwegian?
Sheesh.
Sheesh with an O at the end with a line through it. It's like the atomic symbol for boron. Somewhere in the middle of their
don't forget those two little dots like in Motley Crue.
The umlauts, right. Yeah. Oh yeah, the two little dots above the Motley Crue thing, just however you want to call it, yeah.
Call it the Motley Crue symbol. Also joining us on today's show is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World, and Mr. Culture himself. Welcome on.
How's it going, Matt?
Outstanding. Also joining us on today's show is Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome, Mike.
Good evening.
And also joining us on today's show is our special guest, Erin Foster, who's a member of the Disney Moms panel. Welcome to the show, Erin, again.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Great. Well, happy to have you aboard once again, Erin. And today we're talking about something that kind of happened to you because being in the Disney Moms panel, you've been able to come down to Walt Disney World a little bit more often than you may have beforehand. And as a result, you've had opportunities on these recent trips where you've been to Walt Disney World to try out some new things. And I thought we could talk a little bit about that because not only have you been trying new things, you've also been trying them in a different way because you've been there by yourself, solo trips.
I have, yes. And I actually have been on the 4 totally solo vacations over the past couple years, in addition to several sort of solo businessy related trips. It's really very different. Disney World's very different when you're alone than it is when you're a group. With a group, you're really only catering to your own needs as opposed to trying to accommodate everybody else. So it's a very, very different experience.
I think it's quite liberating. I'm sure, Erin, you come from a history of going to Walt Disney World quite often, obviously, as being a member of the Moms panel. You've been there a few times. And you always have to – you go there with your husband, you go there with your kids, and, you have to curtail your trip to different people at different times. But I think you're right. It's when you go there solo, it's you kind of have you get to do what you want when you want it.
Right. I had been several dozen times in the 90s and 2000s, and but there were still several rides that I hadn't been on because my husband didn't want to, or my kids were not the right age, or whatever. And so one of the first times I went on a solo trip, I made it my personal mission to go on every ride that I hadn't ever been on, and so that was sort of fun. I really try each trip that I go by myself to make myself a little bit of an agenda, just to sort of make it fun or to keep myself entertained, to do a certain type of ride or to really work on my Buzz Lightyear score or something like that.
It's all about goals. It's all about goals.
It is, absolutely. Very focused. Or one trip I did a whole bunch of backstage tours, which it was really something that I had wanted to do for a long time, but something like that is also a way to, if you are traveling alone, get a little human contact so you're not feeling totally lonely while you're alone. Several of them include things like lunch with a group or something like that. And when I did the Backstage Magic Tour, the 8-hour-long one, on one solo trip, there were actually several other solo people on the tour. So I, had people to talk with a little bit at lunch, and then when the tour was over, I got to go and do my own thing and again make my own agenda, which was very nice. It's sort of the best of both worlds.
Sure. Scopa, do you remember your first solo trip to Walt Disney World?
My first solo trip was 2004, and Len and I was supposed to do something very special on that that trip. Actually, I was Christina Testa on that trip. We stayed in the 50s, Len. Remember that was the night when we
That's
drove
right,
back from Epcot and we couldn't find a parking spot.
That's when Pop had just opened.
Yeah, we had to park. I remember I dropped you off. I think we were in the 50s.
50s, yeah, we're in the 50s.
Yeah.
The Pop was so new that we hadn't actually finished paving the parking lot yet.
Yeah, and I had to park where you would normally park, like right near where the buses are. That's where I had to park. It was just because I think we closed Epcot that night. Because we were in La Cellier, I think way past 9:30. Because we came out, and I remember we walked into the parking lot, and I was one of 2 cars left in the parking lot that night. That was 2004.
Yeah, that had to be around the time. I was probably doing solo tours a little bit before that, maybe like 2001, 2002.
And it's quite an adjustment. I think one of the things, Aaron, this would be something that I'd be interested to hear from you. When I was on my first solo trip, I forgot to eat. I really did. I wanted to do so much because I didn't have to cater. Well, the thing is that
I don't ever forget to eat. Sorry, guys.
I was all by myself. I didn't have to worry about, this one wants to do that wants to do that. And I was just running around going crazy, doing this, doing that. And I can remember it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my first day, and I'm saying, whoa. I mean, I had breakfast, but I forgot to have lunch. And I said, gee, I better eat, I think you get real excited when you're on your first solo trip. You get to do a lot of things that you normally wouldn't do. And if you're in a geek mode, then you're doing crazy things. I remember I spent 3 hours on Main Street, USA, looking at windows and doing other things. And I normally wouldn't have done that with my family there.
Well, one of the things, we do get asked questions about solo travel on the Moms Panel with some regularity, and eating is one thing that people are very concerned about because they're often not used to eating alone out in the world, so they don't know how to approach eating in a table service restaurant by themselves. And so sometimes I just tell them to practice at home, go to a diner by yourself, and they're like, oh, yeah. But other things you can do is actually maybe even go to a character meal by yourself. And that, again, is not like you're eating alone. And I do see solo diners at character meals quite often, and the characters will interact with you as much as you want, or you can sort of give them a little signal like, hi, Mickey, and just wave, and they'll pass by. Another great thing is, I'm a woman of a certain age, and I would never go into a bar out in the real world. But the lounges at Disney are actually really nice. Many of them serve the same food that they do at the nearby table service restaurants, but without the whole, people looking at you sort of thing, like you're eating alone at a table. So you can get a nice glass of wine, and you can get a lot of the food that's in the restaurant without sort of the show of eating by yourself at a restaurant.
Yeah, Matt has mentioned many times the Tune-In Lounge in the studios as being that's a prime example of that.
Right. I've had really good luck at the Wave. Actually, there's a pretty nice lounge area, and they'll serve you the full restaurant menu at the bar. Also at the Wilderness Lodge, the lounge there is really, really quite good, and they'll serve you a lot of the same food that they have at Artist Point. So if you're looking for really nice food but don't want to sit in a signature restaurant by yourself, that's a great thing to do.
That's a great idea. That's a fabulous idea.
That assumes that you do like the food at Artist Point.
Yeah, right. In the service. I've never really had a problem or felt uncomfortable doing solo touring, but I rarely, if ever, sit down by myself solo. Not so much because I can't get a reservation or I feel awkward about it. It's just the time. It's like I'd rather.
Yeah.
I think some of the issues are different for women traveling alone than men as well. I mean, you guys are talking about staying at the Pop, and I actually have stayed at some of the values by myself. But when I'm traveling alone, I really do prefer to be at the deluxes from a safety perspective. I mean, I think all the Disney resorts are really quite safe, and that's a great reason to make it a solo destination, especially for a woman, because it is so safe. But something about the internal hallway versus the external doorways makes me feel a little bit more comfortable when I'm alone.
Okay. Yeah, I can kind of see it. Although, I mean, to your point, Disney's probably slightly different than staying off.
Absolutely,
property
yeah.
in Kissimmee. The last time one of the first times I stayed with my sister in Kissimmee was at a hotel where there was a gunfight in the lobby the night before.
Nice.
Disney. Yeah, I know exactly. And the guy was like, "Yeah, do you want a key to the safe?" Yes, yes, I do. In fact, I'd like the whole wall lined with safes. That would be fabulous.
And I'll go in the safe. Yeah.
So,
I was just going to add the one thing that we talk about how it's kind of different when you're there by yourself, but really in today's day and age where we're all on our iPhones and droids and all that, having access to things like Twitter where you can really, even though you're by yourself, you can tweet out photos of where you are or send make updates, and you get that kind of feedback from other people that are following you, and really kind of people on the other end enjoy it, and it kind of gives you something to do because you can share experiences with others. That's always what I always felt was the worst part of solo touring, was that you'd write something really cool, like, wow, wasn't that cool? But you got no one to tell that.
I was absolutely going to make that one of my points, that when I first started the solo travel in earnest about 4 years ago, I was really on my own, and I did feel more. I had a great time, but I did feel a little more lonely then. And this last trip, in my solo trip in January, I was tweeting away and people were responding, and it was like I wasn't waiting in line by myself. I was waiting in line with the however many hundred people that were following me on Twitter. So, it's sort of, in one regard, fun. In the other regard, you're a little bit less alone. If you want to be, if you want to be alone, you got to turn off the electronics sometimes.
That's right. That's Mom's Panel Aaron on Twitter.
Mom's Panel Aaron on Twitter. Yes. Another great thing that is nice to do when you're on your own is to take advantage of some of the amenities at the resorts, like the spas, or I did indulge in a little spa treatment the last time I was there. It was very relaxing. You can exercise if you want to. You can do really silly stuff. One recent trip I took the New York Times crossword puzzle, the Sunday one, and I sat in the Rose Garden near the Rose and Crown at Epcot, and I just sat there for an hour doing the puzzle, and people were looking at me like, "Who is this woman? Why isn't she frantic?" And I was like, "I'm just enjoying the atmosphere." It was really, really quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, spa treatments are one of a great way to really, regardless even if you're going solo, maybe you're going as a couple, it's a great way to take some time out from the parks and kind of, take that break. And people say, well, what am I going to do during my break? And I think it's always assumed that you're going to go back to your room and just sit on the couch or, take a nap or something. But you could go back and get a spa treatment as your break, and that would be very relaxing and enjoyable and gets you out of the parks for a little while, and while the parks are very busy, and obviously you get some relaxation out of it.
Right.
Have you guys ever gone to the gym?
I have.
I have.
I thought Jim was like the guy's name.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to the when I was at Kidani last month. I used that gym about, I think, maybe 3 or 4 days, and it's called the Survival of the Fittest, and it was pretty cool.
That's the name of the gym?
That's the name of the gym at the Kidani Village. Yeah, Survival of the Fittest. Yeah.
No, I've used the gym at the beach club several times, and it's quite nice. There's a pretty good spa in there, and sauna and everything. It's and again, that's like if you're looking for another diversion or a way to relax that's a little more energetic. Those are great options.
Aaron, when you go solo, do you normally use Disney transportation or do you normally rent a car?
I do use Disney transportation. I normally use Disney transportation in general. I rarely rent a car, and I feel really safe because there's always people around. I'm not usually waiting there alone. I don't, when I'm by myself, it's not like I'm staying out till close down Extra Magic at 3:00 in the morning, if that exists. You do have to take a little bit of precautions, but yeah, I do. I almost always use Disney Travel whenever I go, Disney transportation. And
so going off site, you don't go off site?
No.
Okay.
I'm loyal.
Nice.
Everybody needs a little Waffle House every now and then, Aaron.
That's what I'm saying. Just every once in a while, it's nice. Every once in a while, it's nice to go to Publix or to Target or something, just to, you never know.
But that's my life at home, and so I'm trying to escape that.
Got it. See, for me, I never do any of that stuff at home.
Right,
so
now that's pretty much all the Disney mom does here at home. So.
Oh, got it. Okay, I'm with you.
What other things do you have on your list there, Aaron?
Well, I did something, actually not on a solo trip. I took the family in February. We ended up going to Victoria and Albert's, in the chef's table. And I took my daughters, that were just over the age limit. I have a 13-year-old and 10-year-old twins. So the twins were just old enough to go. And, it was really an incredible experience. But while I was there, I was chatting with the maitre d' quite a while, and I learned that the chef's table can actually be booked by a party of one. So you could sit there by yourself and watch the whole the preparation, and the chefs were very interactive. So if you were alone and you wanted to have an interactive experience and wanted to splurge, that would actually be a really incredible thing to do by yourself.
What other restaurants have chef's tables like that? Doesn't California Grill have one as well? Like an area where you can sit and watch the chefs? I know Chico does, and that's always a hoot, right? You can sit and watch them make appetizers.
Yeah, Citrico's does as well.
Are those more in the main area, though?
Yeah, what Aaron's talking about is a more private thing, right, Aaron?
It's a private room way in the back of the kitchen. I mean, there's nobody else there except your party.
Okay. Yeah, that's like what they have. They have that something similar, Aaron, at Citrico's as well. There's a private room. I don't know what it's called, but I've been in it before, and it's for you can accommodate, I would say, probably 10 people or so.
Right. That's the maximum at the Victoria and Albert chef's table as well.
Right. And it's same. I don't know if it's the same idea. I haven't done the chef's table, but it's a closed off room where no one else is in there, and there's private service. Your waiters are dedicated to basically you. And I imagine it might be along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, and another thing is you could, go to the sushi bar at Epcot or something like that, or at the California Grill. That's a good place to be if you're alone and you again want to have a little bit of interaction, but then go off and do your own thing. That you can speak to the chefs there as well.
Absolutely. I think the thing to take away from this is that if you're going solo, it doesn't mean you have to be like one of those monks who doesn't talk for 10 years.
Right.
Like you can have other human contact, and you will, in fact.
Yeah, and that's sort of one of the things that I like is that you can, if you're traveling alone, you can control your human contact. It's not like your kid is pulling at you, I have to do this, or I'm hungry, or I'm tired, or whatever. You're controlling your own human contact, but it's not lonely. 'Cause I guess that's what people have asked me a lot. Aren't you lonely when you go by yourself? And I'm like, no, not at all. I get to do what I want to do on my own timetable and sort of control my interaction with other people. Whereas, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I rarely get to control anything. So it's really nice. It's really very, very pleasant. And I've met some lovely people, and the cast members are really very nice. You get, I was in the store in the Japan Pavilion and had a very lovely cast member talk to me all about the tea services that the different types of pots are used for, something that I would never have thought that I would, want to know about. But just I had a really nice sort of 15-minute conversation with her, and then I went on and did my own thing, which was very nice.
Absolutely. Well, Aaron, it's been a pleasure to have you on as always. And don't forget, you check out Aaron's work, DisneyWorldMoms.com. That's the Disney World Moms panel. And of course, you can follow Aaron on Twitter. We mentioned it before. Moms Panel Aaron is her Twitter name, and you can hear some information about Disney, get updates on Glee, and get the weather report. So definitely check that out. Aaron, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Aaron.
And don't forget, this episode of WDW Today has been sponsored by All-Star Vacation Homes. And, you're going to Walt Disney World and you're not going solo and you're bringing lots of people with you. Why not have a wonderful All-Star Vacation Home as your place to stay? That you're going to get lots of rooms, lots of amenities, lots of space, so you don't feel all crammed up. And guess what? It's going to be for a fraction of the price that you would pay if you were going to try to get those kind of accommodations on Disney World property. Check them out online at www.allstarvacationhomes.com. Want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Newell, and Aaron Foster, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
Stupid Judy, stupid energy.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.